Hi guys, and welcome to this morning's Fife Property Show. So this morning we're going to be talking about the autumn advantages. These are the 5 gold selling secrets of this underrated season, completely underrated. Autumn is the time to really sell, and we'll tell you why in the process. In this whole show, we're going to have on this show today, we're going to have Perry McIntosh. Now Perry is our estate agent and sales manager, and then we're also got Richard Cook as well, our lettings director, who has a great in-depth knowledge of this selling market as well as the lettings market. So good morning guys, how are you?
Morning,
Good
Jim.
morning. Yeah,
Morning,
fantastic. Thank you. Just emptying boxes, as everyone knows. I've just recently moved house, so I've taken advantage of the season. And yeah, chaotic, but happy.
Brilliant. Richard, how are you getting on?
Yeah, I'm good. I didn't envy you, Perry, but yeah, you've obviously picked the right time to obviously get settled in before Christmas. So.
Oh, you've mentioned the C word.
Oh no!
Come in, I'll be here soon.
Didn't keep saying that. Good morning, Karen. How are you?
Morning, Karen.
Listen, guys, if you've got any questions when you're watching the show, please feel free to ask them. We will answer them live on air if you want, if we get an opportunity. If it is something that you're watching later on the catch-up, then please mention them as well in the comments, because we will catch up with that later on as well. So let's get started. Autumn advantages, 5 gold selling secrets of this. It's a completely underrated season, and I'll tell you the reasons why throughout this show. Autumn gets a bad rap as a season for selling your home. I mean, basically, it's always pushed back behind the blossoms of spring, the sunshine of summer, and the festive magic of winter itself. But autumn it's really what you might call the hidden gem of seasons to actually sell. There's still plenty of activity for buyers. This leaves the leaves are turning into bold and beautiful displays of colour, and there are no stressful deadlines like Christmas and the school years to meet. Instead, autumn can be the most relaxing season for starting to plan the move itself. Even the homes sell quickly, and the average timescale for moving home remains around 4 to 5 months. Listen, guys, if you do a search right now and include all the properties for sale on Rightmove or Zoopla in Fife area, it comes to round about 1,800 or 1,900 properties. That's including the ones that are under offer. Now, there's only 480 properties out of them actually up for sale. So what does that tell you? It's 4 times more. So that's why we get the 4 to 5 months to actually conclude it on average, because there is a lot of sales in the pipeline still to go through the process, and we've got a month's worth of stock, all the estate agents in Fife, which is about 500 properties in total. So that's where the 4 to 5 months comes from, which gives you the time in the space you'll need to plan to move your room to move for actually spring itself. So if you're hoping to move before Christmas, I'm not really sure if that's going to be possible. For some people it is. We've done previous shows in a position to proceed. Make sure you've got all your boxes ticked, make sure you've got everything ready, and you could possibly make it, and all your finance in place as well. I mean, what's your thoughts on this, Perry?
I would totally agree with that, and it's interesting that you talk about the length of time in the way that you have, and the fact that you've pointed out that whilst there's property on all of the websites, the majority of those properties are sold. I was having an interesting discussion with a gentleman yesterday who was saying that it was quite frustrating for him because he was trying to find properties, there wasn't enough property out there, and every time he was trolling through the websites, all he was seeing is sold, sold, sold. And the question was, well, you know, why can't you just remove them? And I said, well, we can't remove them as yet because they haven't completed. And he understood the rationale behind all of that, but the property market, as we know, is still continuing to shift really quickly. Our sales this week, our average sale has happened in 5 days this week. So, you know, the properties aren't sticking around long. So whilst it is a chore to troll, you're not going out in the sunshine, you're not going out for your lovely walks when it's rainy. So it's the ideal time to get online and have a look and start to plan. As people will know, I've recently moved, and what I'm finding actually is that it's really great to do the planning when you're indoors now, rather than all the busyness of wanting to be outside. So it's helping me get organised and planning. And at this time of year as well, I think when the light is slightly different, it's good for me to actually visualise what my property is going to be like in the winter and autumn months, versus when you decorate in the spring and the summer and it's all bright, and then suddenly the winter comes, you think, oh, actually it doesn't quite look so great. So it's a really good time for planning. So yeah, I'm quite excited about the planning that's taking place, but our marketplace is, yeah, showing the squeeze.
I picked up on your comment about, the gentleman says he's no got any, everything comes on the market, it's immediately sold and all the rest of it. See, here's the top tip. Go to the estate agent, even though it's sold, and tell them you're still interested if anything changes. Because I'll guarantee you what happens, and what happens all the time, more or less, and we do it as well, is if a property actually potentially falls through, we don't put it back on the market straight away. We will go back to the next people in line and say, are you prepared to honour that and come to that same conclusion? Because they're further forward than yourself, because we don't know about you just now. So every agent does it. If you're still interested in a property and it's under offer or sold, tell them to register you just in case the circumstances change, because it might not even come back onto the market and it'll be sold before you even get a chance. So that's the top tip. Other top tip as well, the most important one is, please, for God's sake, follow Facebook pages. You'll see everything there first. Your VIP personal property tours and your pre-launches. You'll see them all there first. You'll be priority access, and make sure you register with all the estate agents to get priority access as well.
Really
Richard, what's your thoughts on this as well?
Yeah, I think good tips about, obviously, make sure you're registered with local agents, and like you say, follow the social media pages. And we do a lot of, obviously, traction on social media pages, and that's where a lot of it comes through. But definitely take advantage of the autumn season. I mean, we've just come out of the tail end of summer. It's been mega busy. Obviously, the market itself just now is really busy, but even that time of year usually is always busy. And then things slightly wind down as you come into autumn, but it's definitely a time where you should be taking advantage of thinking, right, if I want to get on the market, maybe look at start putting that in process. Like you say, it's maybe a wee bit of a push to get property for Christmas, but it can be done if you've got everything in place and all your T's crossed and your I's dotted. But yeah, definitely, like I said, take advantage of the autumn season. I've got a few good mornings coming through here today. Morning, Angela, and morning, James.
Guys, if you want to make a comment, please feel free to make it. I'm more than happy to discuss it. If you've been thinking about moving home in the spring, but thought you should wait until the new year to put your home on the market, well, guys, you're going to miss out, because autumn is probably one of the best times. And do you know why autumn's the best time? Because nobody else is doing it. You've got a limited market as it is, and no one else is doing it, and then it's got an even more limited market. You've still got all that demand out there for people chasing properties. So when you put your house on the market, you've almost got, you're in one of the best and strongest positions ever. You can dictate the prices. You can also dictate the moving date. I mean, we had that recently, didn't we, Perry? Somebody's actually got a moving date of 12 months from now.
Yep. Absolutely. It is really important to get yourself ready and not to fall into the trap of thinking nothing happens at this time of year, I'll just wait. We had a lady yesterday who missed out on a property with ourselves that was sold yesterday, and the only reason that she didn't get the property is because she hadn't sold and the other person had. But that lady has actually taken your advice in such of what you've just shared there, Jim, and she has messaged me to say, I'm absolutely heartbroken, it's what I really wanted, but you know what I'm going to do is keep me on your list, and I'm your go-to person if anything goes wrong, because I definitely want to buy it, and I now appreciate that I need to be ready. So it is about being autumn ready for what happens next for yourself.
People fall into the trap again of always waiting to see the property that they want before they put their property online and on the market, and that's just the way to do it. Obviously, you need to get ahead of the game, and if your intention is to move, get your property in motion on the market, and your right property will come around.
Definitely.
It's giving everybody that head start, isn't it? It's extremely valuable in this type of market. I mean, what is the key things that we can tell people to do to prepare in advance, Perry? You know, what are the key things that we can ask people to do to prepare in advance?
The key thing to do is to make sure that your property is fresh and inviting for people. It's make sure that you've got if you require a mortgage, make sure you've got your financial position in place. If you have a timeline that you're working to, make sure you're managing that timeline. And with that timeline, we can work to it. You've just explained a situation we had there recently. But I also had another lady that I was speaking to yesterday, and she says, yeah, but what if I go and I see something, and what if they buy my house and I don't see something, and then I'm going to be homeless? And it's about making sure that the individuals understand actually that we can manage that timeline for them. We can work to their timelines, we can work to their position, but they have to have all of those things in place. Otherwise, they're going to be way down the queue with other people that are looking at property, because whilst you may think things are slowing down, we are still inundated with people looking for a property at the moment. So you do need to make sure you're ready.
That word frustrates me so much when people say it, homeless. You'll never be homeless. It is impossible to be homeless. You're the person that decides when somebody buys your house and when they actually move into it. If you don't want to be homeless, you just say no. That's all it comes down to. It doesn't tick the boxes I want, so therefore I'm not selling it to you because you're not agreeing with my entry date, and which is probably one of the most important things, or you're not falling into my conditions. And the other flip side of that is if you don't do anything, guess what? You're no further forward than you were before. So you've been as well been on the market and taking the opportunity to catch somebody who is desperately agreeable to that situation that you want to do. If you don't do that, you're no further forward than you were before. And guess what? Get in line with everybody else. You've got no chance of getting a property because everybody else is taking that advice and they are way ahead of you. They're light years ahead of you when it comes to it. They are prepared. They are ready to go. They have got everything in place, as you said, Perry. It's the mortgage in place. They've got their house on the market. They've got somebody agreed to an entry date. They've maybe got it under offer, and they're just looking for the ideal property to move to, and they're in a perfect position to do that. Or they've moved into rented accommodation like you did yourself. You know, that was a brilliant one. Talk about that. What did you do?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a scary one as well as being a good one. It's scary in that there is an element of where, actually Billy probably more than I was more concerned about the homeless factor, but I thought, well, no, you know, let's get ready. So we sold the house, we went into rented. We actually ended up staying in the rental for 12 months. I seem to always move in the autumn, believe it or not. I moved last October, I moved this October. But we stayed in the rented for 12 months. It was perfect for us. Then our ideal home came along. It put us in a great stead for getting this property that we've now got moved into last weekend. And it is frustrating, and yes, you need to pack and repack, and I've done, you know, communications on that. But God, does it feel nice now to be in where I want to be. I feel that I'm in my forever home. Yes, it's been uncomfortable and unsettled. And when you are in rented, when you've been used to being a homeowner, there's that little piece of you where you kind of feel a little bit that you're floating, because there's no permanency around it, I guess. But now I've got that comfort of actually having what I wanted. And actually, yes, I went into rented, but you don't necessarily need to do that. We've got a sale going ahead at the moment whereby they're willing to wait till their property's built, and they're waiting that timeline. Sold another property yesterday. They're happy with the February entry date. So I think it depends really on you and your family situation of whether you can do that. For me, it was perfect and it worked, and it put us in a really strong position.
I think a lot of people, it's what they don't know what they don't know, and that's why we're there. They don't understand that we've gone through this with hundreds, if not thousands, of people in the past. So we do know the answer to what their question is, but they actually don't know what the question is or the answer to that is because they don't know what to ask. If that makes sense. Yeah. So you don't know what you don't know.
It's true, but I think we're, as a group and a team, I think where we're quite fortunate is we've got such a wealth of experience within the team in regards to not just our jobs, but our lives and how we've lived. And so we can bring all of that experience to the table and help our buyers and sellers make choices that are really informed. And I think that's really useful for them.
Yeah, perfect.
A lot of people do have like the fear factor when it comes to selling and buying and things. And you do need to have obviously the right, estate agent and things helping you and advising you, and they need to be in the know as well. I mean, a lot of people that do fear, oh, what if my property sells and I don't have anything to buy? A lot of the times, these are the ones that aren't prepared, and if they need a mortgage to move, didn't have it all in place, or didn't have the right solicitor in place to do their conveyancing and things. So they're all important things to be able to allow you to move as soon as you do see the property that you do want to buy. So yeah.
So my top 10 tips for selling your house and getting the best deal is number 1 is sign the paperwork, and number 2 to 10 is leave everything else to us. that's ultimately it.
Yeah, and I can vouch for that because my whole journey over the last 2 years, Fife Property has been front and centre of every decision that I've made and has helped me through that journey. So when I started the journey, I wasn't part of the team, but because of how the team worked, it made me want to be part of it, and it really does give you faith in what we do as a company.
Yeah. Perfect. Let's talk about catching buyers at a timely moment. Autumn is when the seeds of many a move are actually sown itself, and often unexpectedly, after seizing every opportunity to get outside in the summer, from enjoying the garden to the picnics and the park and the sitting and on the terrace at the pub. A nip in the autumn sends us retreating back to where we want to be warm. So we usually tend to go indoors at this time of year. We start paying more attention to the spaces inside our homes itself, and this is when we begin to notice that we're feeling squeezed. That makes because we've been outdoors all this time, and then it's all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, this house is a lot smaller than I kind of thought before, because we've been outdoors for the last 6 or 9 months. Maybe the living room feels smaller after the wide open spaces of the summer, or the children playing in the back of the house have disrupted the sense of privacy and quiet, or perhaps working from home itself feels different now that the evenings are spent inside as well as the day. I mean, are you guys experiencing this just now?
Not quite yet, but I think it is that time of year when a lot more time is spent indoors. Kind of the same factor of what lockdown kind of enforced on everybody. It made everybody reevaluate their living situations, their space, extra space for working at home and things like that. So it makes you reevaluate, and that's maybe brings you to that decision. I maybe think it's time to move and change my space. Yeah,
it does do. I mean, when we all through the summer months while we've been waiting to move, we've always said we'll just go in, we'll put everything in, and we'll worry about decor, we'll worry about changes in the spring. That lasted 2 days because I was indoors and I was thinking, oh, actually, hang on, no. And so my painter and decorator I've got just everybody, hence my kind of mobile setup, but I've got everybody in the house at the moment doing things. And I think it is important to have space that you're comfortable living in. But actually, you can flip that a little bit too, Jim, because actually what I have also found, the rental property that I had was such a character property. Actually, their rooms were too big. And actually, rather than feeling the squeeze, I was feeling actually that it was cold and it was too spacious and it wasn't cozy and it wasn't comfortable. And now I've started kind of decorating and I'm getting in a nice space where I'm sitting in the evening and I'm thinking, oh, this is lovely and it's dead cozy and it's warm and it's got a lovely feeling about it. So it can actually work both ways. But personally, I'm experiencing that definitely.
I think it's
I can't see a point where I could downsize, because I've thought about it time and time again. But it's like, I understand what my mum and dad says now. My dad used to say to me, my mum used to say to me, because they were rattling about it, they've still got this big massive house, and there's only 2 of them really at the end of the day. And I'm like, why do you not just downsize? And my mum usually just says, where will I put everything?
That's exactly what my mum said. Where would she put everything?
You do have to be a little bit brutal with yourself, and I have. And you have to kind of do an emotional detachment from some things. But actually, it's fresh opportunity, isn't it? That's the way I look at it. Every experience is a fresh opportunity to enjoy it more. So it's about having the bravery and the right guidance, I guess, around that.
Yeah, I think making change is always scary for a lot of people, but sometimes having a fresh start and things is quite good.
Definitely.
It's interesting that you say that, Richard. I mean, change, yeah, absolutely. People actually, you shouldn't fear change. I mean, at the end of the day, fear, false expectations appearing real. That's all really it is. It's you can only have one scenario that works in that position. So thinking about the 100 different ways it could all go wrong is not the right way to approach it. We have a brilliant guide online on our YouTube channel, which is about decluttering and how to actually be brutal when it comes to decluttering your house. And I think that's the most important point out of that. It is actually making sure, but it's also catching the buyers at a timely moment where everything's in place, because they're all ready to move. I mean, buyers are out there in their droves just now, aren't they?
Yeah,
absolutely. There's just not enough property. That's the problem. And interestingly, I was speaking to a lady yesterday who was thinking of selling her property, and she says, I'm happy for Jim to come out and see me in a couple of weeks because nothing's going to happen now till spring anyway. And I said, no. I said, you need Jim out as soon as possible because everything is happening now. We've got people waiting for exactly what you are selling. So, if you're ready to go, we're ready to help you do it.
I'll go back to this again. This is my frustration point. It's like everybody thinks, I'll wait till I see the right house before I put my house on the market. And it's like, well, guess what the other person's saying, that the right house that you're after? I'm going to wait till I see my right house before I put my house on the market. So you're not going to be any further forward because everybody's going to sit with their arms folded and go, I'm just waiting for the right person to sell their house first.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have no properties to move to then. And then you'll get into a position where everybody will flood the market at the same time. If it came to that scenario, in an ideal world, everybody flood the market at the same time. Therefore, you've got a huge amount of properties to choose from. Therefore, the buyers on the winning end now, the buyers in the strengthful position, they can negotiate a lower price. They can negotiate the entry date if they want. That's not what you want. You want to make sure you're in a position to proceed on your terms. And that's why it's most important to put your house on the market. At this point in time, this is when you should be getting match fit, ready to go. At the end of the day, if I come round to somebody's house and I think, well, now's not the time, I'll tell them now is not the time. It's this time when you should be selling. But in general terms, now is the time to sell your house. Now is the time to put your house on the market. Again, as I said, 4 to 5 months it takes for legal work to go through just now. That's an average. Could you imagine if it goes longer? I've even got a house going through that I own in my own name and I'm selling it to my limited company. And it's taking about 3 or 4 months to go through. How is that? How is that so difficult?
I would agree with that, and I think that is what you need to think about. If you're looking to put in the market now, you're not selling and completing till January, February potentially. Even my position was a strong one. I didn't have a property to sell. I was in rental. Everything was in place financially, and it still took 3 months for me to do that.
Yeah. I heard a wee statistic the other day, if anybody wants to know that. So before the credit crunch, most people actually moved between an average of every 5 and 6 years. Now, only 50% of people actually move every 5 or 6 years. Most people actually tend to leave it a lot longer now because of that. So, and this is a European thing when you think about it. I know the Brexit thing's in there, but this is quite a European thing, isn't it? People actually tend to stay a lot longer, and possibly we're going to get generational properties being passed to the next generation. There's another possibility as well.
It's true. I mean, this takes it to extreme, but I've got one gentleman at the moment who the house has been in the family for 120 years.
Wow.
120 years the property's been in the family.
And yet, but you come across to places like Spain and Italy and places like that, and they'll probably go, yeah, so what?
Yeah.
It's like, that's what everybody's like. And
rare to find that here.
And I think that might actually, I know it's another show, but I think that might actually go to that extent because the multiplier is getting a lot more in order to afford the property. It's at 11 times the average salary in the UK now. I mean, Fife's sitting about 6 times the average salary, but it's 11 in terms of the average in the UK. I mean, who on earth, what bank's going to be able to mortgage a property at 11 times your salary? It's not going to be possible. You're going to have lifetime mortgages. So I think that's where we're going. Anyway, let's get back to this show. You'd be surprised at just how many moves happen like this. I mean, and autumn is often the trigger for this. So let's talk about the next one. Enjoy a relaxed experience. Many people move to a deadline, and these immovable dates cause much of the stress associated with buying and selling a home. We've just touched on this, really, how people get this in their head. They try to orchestrate a move at the start of the school year or to be in the new home for Christmas, which are hugely popular timeframes. This massive concentration of activity increases the number of sales going through and puts pressure on the mortgage lenders, the conveyancers, to have everything ready and online as they struggle to keep up with demand. This is what's happening just now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. We had first-hand experience with that midweek this week with a property that we have sold. There was a lot of attention on this property. There was multiple people interested in buying, and the gentleman that ended up getting the property nearly didn't because he could not get his solicitor to get his written offer in. And it was a real struggle, and other people were coming along and putting additional offers in, and there was a panic moment for him. I think he felt, actually, I'm not going to get this in for a simple thing as just getting a letter produced. And it was quite hot for him. So it's a really valid point, and we are experiencing that.
Some solicitors actually jump in and say, well, before I can put that in, I'll have to have your ID and proof of address and everything. So there's another top tip for someone. If you're looking to move quick on making an offer, make sure you contact your solicitor beforehand. Make sure you give them everything they need to know about you in order to make an offer over the phone. So I've heard before some people say to me, well, I've got an appointment with my solicitor to sit down with them to discuss the offer we're going to put in. And I'm like, you've got no chance. You've lost this. Whereas, you know what I do? Straight onto my, or I email them sometimes and just say, get that offer in now. There's the company, there's the property, there's the amount we're paying, and there's the entry date. Done and dusted. And it's as quick as that. Within 5 minutes, I could pick up the phone and get an offer into someone straight away. And that's what the position you have to be in.
One of the other delay factors that we've experienced this week as well with another gentleman was that the property tax. So he didn't get well advised on that. He was an English buyer, so wasn't familiar with the Scottish laws in regards to second property taxing. And thankfully, his legal team in Scotland that we put him in touch with, one of our partnering businesses, and they did their correct due diligence, and the offer is still not on the table yet because they want to make sure that the finance is in place. And this gentleman has now got to convey that. So again, it's about being sell or buy ready. And if you've not got all those boxes ticked, then you really are going to start missing out because of that demand at the moment.
There's all these things like your ID and things that maybe normal people don't really realise that they need to have in place and need to provide in order for things to progress. And they say that obviously moving house and selling and things is one of the most stressful things you could do, but there's a way of really minimising that and getting ahead of the game, and obviously speaking to people that obviously know what you need to be doing and advise you doing that in a timely manner, I think, as well.
It really is a competition.
Yeah.
Isn't it? You've got to be highly competitive now, and you've got to be really driven to get that house that you really want. And you know, it is just that edge. I mean, the difference between everybody remembers the guy that Roger Bannister did the 4 minute mile, don't you? But do you remember the person that came in second place? No. Nobody remembers that person. And that's why you have to be first over the line. So you have to make sure you've got every competitive edge. And that's where a really well-known honed estate agent can actually advise you on what you should be doing, how you should be doing it, and the fastest possible way in order to get that over the line as quick as possible. The end of September is typically when the mania subsides. I can't see that really because of the way the current market is now and the restriction in supply. But generally, in real terms, and most occasions, that's when it usually subsides. And it's because of the school year's well underway. People have got their party hats on. They found their home for Christmas, which leaves a refreshingly relaxed conditions to think about their next move. And in case you're wondering, the level of inquiries from buyers is still extremely high right now. It's, we're getting them all the time, everybody. You've just heard that in the previous discussions about how people were, I can't believe I've missed out. And it's only because they didn't pick up the phone quick enough. Between the pre-portal launch on social media and possibly, I'll just wait for it to come on the website and see all the details first. You're too late. It's gone because somebody says, I'm not waiting for that. Just get me around now. I'm match fit. I'm ready to go. Get me around now, and I want to see the property, and I'm ready to offer more than other people can't offer. That's really what it comes down to get that property. Find viewings. Find the viewings as far easier. They don't have the kids in tow, but this year's unsatisfied demand has kept the market strong with ready and waiting buyers ready for every type of home. I mean, that's what we are experiencing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's ready and waiting buyers, but actually it's also allowing, you talk about the competition factor. Yes, there is that for the amount of people that are interested in owning property, but actually it's also for the seller. The seller will make choices depending on the buyer, not necessarily a number as well. So, if you're chain free or you've got your financial situation in place and everything's guaranteed and lined up and you're good to go and you can work to timelines, there's a big factor of that's in place at the moment as well. I think that's important.
It's such a competitive market just now. I see it a lot in lettings as well, but that's another show. And there's just the sheer volume of people and interest coming through. So I think from a sales perspective, like we've just obviously discussed, you really need to have everything in place. And decisions aren't just made on figures as such. I mean, sellers do make decisions on the buyers themselves, like you say, Perry.
Yeah. I mean, you're basically this time of year, you're supposedly selling with less competition, and you are to a degree. because you've not got anybody with a property on the market, because there's this typical, this is historical in the estate agency world. You know, this is this old mindset about it goes quiet during the winter, it goes, you know, it gets busier during the spring, and it gets really busy during the summer. And it's like, that doesn't exist anymore, as far as I'm concerned. It's never existed for years, because the internet has changed all of that. You know, these traditional up and down periods for demand was based on the fact that it was all to do with, well, how could you view during the day if you're at work? So that slowed it down, because in the winter months it's a lot darker at night. Also, the only way you could get to an office is that you had to go in physically to see somebody at an estate agent's office. You don't have that anymore. It's internet for everything. So you could see it at a glance immediately. Well, look at the Facebook pre-photo launch. Immediately, if you're following our page, you're immediately notified when we go live or when we upload a video straight away. So you can see that property before anyone else can. We're actually telling you now before you have to come to us now. That's the thing. It's now gone and shifted the other way. But the old traditional model, the dinosaur model, which some estate agents still use, is that you had to walk into an office and you had to inquire into them, you had to register with them and all the rest of it. And some of that still exists today. But then it changed to the fact that the internet changed it to say that you have to be on Rightmove and Zoopla, and you should watch out for that so everybody can see that. But that's changed again, because it's back into our hands, and we can let you see it and target you as well through social media channels and other channels, because we have all that data that we've collected as a result of you giving up that information to all these channels while registering with them. And we can use that to retarget the right audiences immediately in a heartbeat, straight away, as soon as we go live. And we're getting in front of people. That's why you often hear us saying, if you were expecting to have this property and wait for the portals, you're too late. It's gone. It went from social media. Everybody followed their Facebook channels. They got in there before everyone else. They made the seller an offer they couldn't refuse. They were ready to go and to proceed. And they matched all the details and the entry date of the seller itself. So the key here is make sure you're in that position. We keep coming back to this all the time. This is a theme in this. But you can sell with less competition at this time of year, because a lot of people are still in this traditional model. Estate agents are sometimes advising this traditional model because they really don't want to be busy at this time of year. Going into the quieter periods, it's like, you know, it's like they're all entrenched into this herd mentality, if that makes sense. So, when you think about it, if you've ever looked at a property on the portals during the peak selling seasons for spring and early summer, you'll remember just how many hundreds of homes you need to scroll through at that time to go through. And it's because there's, just wait till next year, put your house on next year, put your house on next year. No, do it now, because everybody else is doing it next year. You've got a golden opportunity. So with so many listings to get through, it can be easy to miss the perfect home and no other reason. The sheer volume of entries, and also the ones that have sold as well. You have to keep going, scrolling through the solds. But as I said, even the solds as well, make sure you still tell the estate agent, if anything happens to that, you want to jump in. I mean, selling with less competition, what's your thoughts on it, guys?
Well, I think it's a great position to be in, isn't it? Because you don't have that competition, so everyone is focused on your particular property, and that allows you to get a head start on selling it and getting a price that you're happy with, and the dates, and actually potential buyers that are going to accommodate what you as a seller are looking for.
Yeah,
I mean, it makes sense. It makes the sound marketing sense to sell your home when there's less competition and it's smaller, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think this time of year, where typically people in the past have considered it as a quieter period, I think the social media platforms and the virtual access to properties and things, and that's all kind of been pushed forward so much more by the impact of lockdown and things over the last year. It's no longer, I wouldn't consider it a quiet period, because really you could do everything the same as you can throughout any other time of the year.
I often say it's down to your estate agent, whether they want to be busy or not. That's really it. And whether they want to answer the phone after hours, or whether they want to get back to people after hours. And that's what, do they switch off at 5 o'clock? And I've often said that recently on a post on LinkedIn. I says, you know, it's taken me 3 or 4 days. I've still not really switched off when I'm on holiday. But it's taken me 3 or 4 days to actually go through the cold turkey process of actually detoxing from coming away from work. And there was comments on there from other people saying, oh, at 5 o'clock I switch off and that's the end of it. 30 seconds later, I do not think about my work. And I'm thinking, oh, okay. Right, okay. And then I think to myself, that's not how we operate. That's not how I operate anyway. Yeah, I'm always on in terms of marketing terms. You know, there's always an opportunity for someone to actually get the right circumstances, the right deal for them. It will get them what they want out of their journey in life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and as your agent, are they proactive instead of reactive? Do you know what I mean? And are they forward thinking and think, right, well, let's get your property on the market rather than, no, it's quiet just now, just wait, because that's not a good. That's not good.
Yeah, I mean, you'll find it much easier to stand out and shine when you're not competing against everyone else. And that's the reality. If you've got a house valuation, here's another couple of top tips. If you've got a house valuation and you know the value of your house, go into the internet and look at the bandings of the price of the properties in your valuation band, and then you'll see what properties you're competing against right now. Also go into the banding of the number of bedrooms you have as well, and then you'll see what you're competing against the price point of the bedrooms. So these are the two slots. If you think yours are far superior than what's on the market, there's a recipe to get a lot more money for your property straight away. You could tell that straight away. So now would be that time to actually sell, because you've got a big audience, but you've got a limited amount of properties competing against you in that process. So sell with less competition, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Totally. I mean, I think it depends as well on what it is that you're looking for, because we have buyers out there who have particular requirements in whether they want one level living, whether it's the number of bedrooms, whether it's they've got a garage, a driveway, off-street parking. So, you know, if you've got a lot of boxes that you're trying to tick, the quicker that you can get into the market and find the answers to that, the better. Because if you're not looking for the standard box, it's going to take longer time. So the more time you've got to do that, the better. So sooner rather than later would be the guys on that one.
Golden opportunity to hog the limelight for your property at the end of the day, and get the exact circumstances you want. Let's talk about one of the great things. One of the things I love about autumn is the colours. You know, the photographs looked amazing. See, when you see photographs and you see the leaves, the golden browns, all the different shades, and you get a wee glimpse of the sunshine coming in just from the corner of the camera as it hits the property, and it just, you know how it glints in the corner.
That lower level sun,
and then you get that blue sky in the background. Just the blue sky, it just bursts. It bursts in colour, and that's the initial photograph that you want as the primary photograph to get people to click through. Because you know, when it comes down to it, you're competing against people with your front photograph and your summary description to get them to click through to see more. That's it. That's a marketing exercise, isn't it?
Yeah, your lead picture does really. It's the main thing that captures people's attention, along with obviously those first couple of lines of your intro and your summary. So they need to be right, and I think capturing that right, the light and things and that on an autumn day is really important.
It is, I think, as well, when you're doing viewings. Earlier on we talked about viewings and people think, oh well, it's winter time now, it's going to be dark, there's no point in doing that. But actually it's a perfect time to do viewings, not just because of colour but also because of nature. I was doing a viewing during the week at one of our properties, and it's got a little river at the bottom of the garden, and it was incredible. It was surrounded by trees, all the different colours. Literally, it was as if God had just timed it. As soon as we opened the patio doors, this little squirrel ran across the garden. There was robins on the fence. Honestly, there was robins on the fences. I'm sitting here just now, actually, even, and I'm looking out of my patio doors from my new property. Did I tell you I bought a house? And the garden's green. There's a huge tree at the bottom, all the different colours. I've got my bird feeder up again, which I'm really thrilled about. And I'm sitting, and the robins are coming and feasting, and it's just such a lovely feeling. So there's all this warmth that comes from not just internally what your property's like, but externally too. And it's those little things that you can tweak to make it nice for others as well as yourself.
Yeah, I think, like you say about the viewings in this time of year, as it becomes cold and things, and we spoke about in previous shows, if you're in a property and you've got maybe a log burner and things, if that's roaring and things, and they're coming for the cold into the warmth, I mean, that'll sell your property. Definitely that, you're creating that.
Yeah, definitely.
It's the burst. It's these colours. I mean, it's a photographer's dream, isn't it? The reds, the oranges, the yellows, even the greens. Even the greens are deeper. They're deeper and they're brighter, if that makes sense.
But they're not burnt by the sun, are they? They're at that kind of growing stage again, aren't they?
Yeah.
In winter, where they cultivate themselves. It's lovely.
And it's a special kind of magic when you think about it. I feel like bursting into a Queen song. That's the first thing that popped into my head. It's a kind of magic. It's a special kind of magic when you think about it, and the fact that it's supremely eye-catching, and it's equally hard to resist because you don't actually feel the temperature when you see a photograph. So if you get it right, it just ticks all these boxes, and it's emotively led, isn't it? It's the emotion that'll drive everything and the whole process. It's got, we talk about it time and time again how some opening summaries for properties are all about the agent in the beginning. It's all about, oh, so-and-so is delighted to present. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's the key point at the beginning, which actually people need to see. That's almost like having the end counter in a supermarket or at the checkout tills where everybody is the premium product. And it's like, you're talking about your estate agency when you should be talking about the seller's property, because that's the key thing that everybody will see in the beginning. I don't want to know about who the estate agent is. I already know that.
Yeah.
I want to know about the property. I want to know what's going to tick my boxes. I want to know about why I want to buy this property, and then I want to know about the detail later on when I click through. That's the whole point. And photographs combined with that and the color coordination, it will make that a huge difference in the way your home looks in the best light. And then when the sun catches again, the leaves and the fire and radiant glow as a result. And Richard, you said it. When you get there and you're on the doorstep and it's a wee bit cooler, and then you walk in the front door and you're hit with that warmth when you walk in the front door. Could you imagine combining that with the smell of bread cooking in the oven? And then the roaring fire and the logs just crackling on a roaring fire. And it's like, and immediately you conjure up all these images in your mind. And then as well, you put a couple of lavender or vanilla air fresheners, and it just strategically positioned to give you that burst when you come in the door of the freshness, combined with the smell of the air from the outdoor. It's just, it's a winner, isn't it?
Yeah, lavender.
It is, and we did that on a show. We did that on a show a few weeks ago, didn't we? And we talked about emotives, all your sensories that go around your eyes, your smell, what you're hearing, what's surrounding you. And this time of year as well is a great time because you've got your candles on and you've got all these lovely smells, and it's warm and it's inviting, and people coming in and they're getting that warm fuzzy feeling, aren't they, where they think, oh, well, I quite like this. And actually maybe that room isn't exactly how I'd like it, but I could live with that because of everything else, because you've already got this kind of euphoric feeling by walking in and being hit with all these positives.
Yeah, I think photography as well, we'll come back to the pictures themselves. Whether, agents do them themselves or whether you have a photographer. Our photographer is brilliant. She actually won the other day with myself, and she came to me and says, right, let's do this day because the weather's better. And do you know what I mean? She'd thought about all that, and the pictures she done, it was a seaside one.
Yeah.
They were amazing because
we stopped doing the photographs ourselves, didn't we, for that very reason? Because we were getting fantastic remarks about our photographs and how brilliant they were, and a lot of people were actually saying to us, wow, I feel like buying the house again. And it's like, that's exactly what we want to do. But then when I saw the other photographers, the real professionals, and what they were doing, it took us a lot of years to find these people. It was over a period of time that we tried and tested to get the right people to fit into our branding and our marketing strategy. It's just perfect, isn't it? It's the fact that you can actually see outside the window as well as the property and the premises inside. And what would I call the actual naked eye, if that makes sense? Because the classic photographs is, Richard, you take the photograph, the room looks bright, but the window's in the background, and the window gets whited out because the white balance goes out. So you have to make sure you have a photographer that could possibly take even two photographs, one with the room dark on a tripod and one with the room bright on a tripod, and then they take the window shot and they merge it into the one with the bright room. And it looks
amazing.
Perfect.
It's a talent. It's a talent. And the one I was just referring to, the selling point of this is the view of what they see, and especially from the bedroom window. And the photo is off the bedroom, and you can see right through and right across the water, and it was really good.
Even views over the rooftops are amazing as well, and a great one to take from upstairs rooms. I was editing one the other day for someone. I can't remember where it was, but I tell you what, the view from the upstairs and the attic room was amazing. I couldn't believe it, and I thought that's only just like a basic 3-bedroom semi-detached, and it's a popular area. But I tell you what, the view was amazing from the windows, and I don't think anybody in the past, when I've, because I know the property and I know the history and the journey of the property, I don't think anybody in the past have actually taken advantage of that at all when they've actually gone to sell it. Any other agents at all. And I thought that's one of the biggest selling points of it, is the fact that you can imagine just waking up in the morning and then open your curtains and you just see, wow, that's just an amazing view. It's just, and then you see the bright sky and you see the sun coming in, and then we can come back to all the colours again and the way it all merges into it. And what does that do up here? What does it do up here for you? And that's one of the big things that drives it forward for the best property, isn't it? You just know when you walk in the door.
Yeah, these all trigger things in your mind and start to build a picture of how you would live in a property, and that's what you want to try and generate with viewers. And
what's your thoughts, Perry?
I think it does depend on your long-term plan, doesn't it? Richard talked earlier on about, you know, we are creatures of habit. We're quite habitual, aren't we? We don't like change, and sometimes you want to go from one box to another box, but you want that the new box to be the perfect thing. And when we got the keys for here, Billy was very much like, oh, this is not quite what I was thinking, and this is not quite how I thought it would be. And I said, look, I can live with all of that. And I'm picking out all the little positive pieces that I'm enjoying, which is actually making my journey to get into the new house and settle a really positive one. And it's all because of all the things that we're talking about what is the long-term plan? How does it feel? How does it smell? What are the good things that are coming to me? And how is it helping my mind settle into where I'm at? And it's about taking that leap of faith with yourself, and also not putting too much pressure on yourself in that journey to have everything perfect on day one. You've got to have a long-term plan. It can't just be the perfect box, because if you're looking for perfect, you won't find it. And so, you know, it's about getting not just your property ready, it's about getting your mind ready as well for filling into that space and what your journey is going to take you on. And again, your agent helps you with that. The agent helps you find what it is that you need, how it can be changed. I mean, Jim, how many times do you go and people say, oh, it has to be 3 bedrooms and I have to have this and I have to have that. And then you'll say to them, well, actually, have you thought about remodeling that room to achieve that? Oh, no, I didn't. Oh, right, well, that would work actually for me. You know, and the times when you told people not to sell because they've got a view of what they would like, and you could say, well, actually, you've already got that where you're at if you just change this one thing. So it's about really understanding what it is you're wanting, how you can get that, and who's going to help you achieve it.
Yeah.
So how do we get ahead of the new year sellers? Well, if there's anything we can safely rely on in the property market in Fife, it's the constant seesaw between the feast and famine, isn't it? One minute there's more homes available that you could ever view and shake a stick at, basically, and the next it's a bit like there's hardly anything around. You know, seeing the lack of homes to buy could deter you from putting your home up for sale. We talked about this already, didn't we? Yeah. And the fact that, you know, it puts people off. But again, if it's putting you off, it's putting everybody else off. So you're in a stalemate. So you're gonna have to take the leap of faith, aren't we? I talk about this all the time. It's a leap of faith. You would be amazed at how your mind conditions and how you go into what I call the zone. Once you make a decision to do something, when you put your house on the market, all of a sudden everything appears. And it's like, how was that not there before? How is that possible? And it's because you've now focused. You're focused in detail on the thing that you need to achieve because you've made a commitment in the house sale itself. It's when you don't make that commitment, your focus doesn't go there. So energy goes where focus flows. That's really what it comes down to. You know, it's that whole thing about all your energies are going to go in once you focus on that. So once you make that decision, it's having that leap of faith that will happen for you, and it will. What's the worst that could happen? Your house doesn't sell and you're no further forward than you were before.
Yeah.
So, and what's the best that could happen? You get the price you wanted, you get the entry date you wanted, and you get the new house that you wanted as well. So why on earth would you not put your house on the market? Oh, might be homeless. Well, that's not the case. Just discussed that and said that will never happen.
It's about having that moment of clarity in your mind, though, isn't it, as well, and going for it. And it's a perception thing for some as well, because again, this week I've had people saying, oh, well, I'm not going to bother putting it on just now because things are slowing down, aren't they? And I said, well, That's not our experience.
No.
That is not what we're saying. So I'm not quite sure where you're getting that from. But absolutely no, you need to go now and get yourself ready. So it is about that clarity and guidance that you're going to get, and it's about having the courage to just actually take that leap of faith, as you say, and start that conversation. If the conversation starts and you don't like the outcome of the conversation, then that's fine. But at least it's a starting point for you to perhaps get where you need to be.
Yeah, definitely.
Interesting, you said that, Perry, about where did you get that information from? Please, if somebody tells you something, right, and it gives you advice, have a look at them and see what is their expertise of field, and is that advice valid based on what their knowledge is? If it's not, then for goodness sake, go to an expert that knows what they're talking about to get the right advice. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, you wouldn't go to a joiner to fix your broken leg, would you? But often, and when you think about it, you wouldn't take financial advice from for example, from your doctor. But often people do that when they're standing in the pub. They give each other financial advice on what they should be doing. And it's like, really, wait a minute. I didn't go to my doctor for my new bathroom suite's needing fitted. And that's a classic example. It's getting advice from the right people and the knowledge and knows what they're talking about. That's the key here. So take advice from the right people. That's me getting my soapbox this morning.
Never.
That's not like me. I get frustrated about things like that because people, you do that. We do that as human beings. We do listen to other people, and I've programmed myself over the years to when somebody gives me advice, it's like, okay, so let's look at you and let's look at what your background is, and then also let's look at have you actually achieved what you're getting. So it's like how to be a millionaire, and I'm still on the dole. It's like, okay, well, you're not gonna be able to teach anybody how to be a millionaire if you're still on the dole, because you would be a millionaire already. So that's a classic example, isn't it?
It's amazing how many people draw a conclusion and take people's advice when really it's not really for the right source, to be fair. So yeah, always speak to the right people for advice.
So it's getting ahead of the game. It is getting ahead of the New Year sellers. It is really seriously thinking about, get the advice now. Listen, if you get the advice now and you don't think now is the time to sell, then you're no worse off.
Yeah.
That's the reality. So, but you're better to speak to someone now to see if that is the answer you need. I mean, what happens if you speak to someone in December and you say to them, right, I'm thinking about putting my house on the market and I want it sold for January, and everybody goes, oh, you should have spoken to us 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Or I've got my dream house, it's just come on the market, and it's like, well, you should have put your house on the market a month ago because you're not going to get it. So it is about getting the right information from the right people, and it'll not cost you anything to do that. We know that. So seeing the lack of homes could deter you put your house in the market. You want to make yourself and your family homeless. I know we've just discussed this already. You might decide to wait until the new year and the traditional upturn in homes coming onto the market. I don't think that's going to happen. It's logical thinking, but you can use the market to your better advantage now. Most people think about selling their homes in the new year. We'll start talking to an estate agent in October and November. That's now itself, which means that we'll know about these homes before anyone else and before they're visible online. We've just spoken about that. Jimmy took 2 people around the other day to 2 properties because one wants to upsize and one wants to downsize, and he felt that the 2 properties actually matched. These homes aren't even on the market yet, and a deal could be done without actually hitting the market at all. So someone out there is actually thinking about, I'm waiting on the right property coming up. You're too late. They've been sold before you even get to see them, but they've been sold before you don't even know about them. They don't even go on a website as a result of that. They'll never be seen. So this happens in the background. This is the importance of making sure you speak to your estate agents, not just us. I'm talking about every estate agent going it you can in order to get you the right result. Put yourself in pole position to secure one before it's actually hit the market, or to be ready to offer when they do come up for sale, even in January itself. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, speaking to other agents is important, and I think, like you say, not just ourselves, because there'll be a lot of other agents that have been out to stuff or have stuff kind of in the pipeline that isn't available for public viewing. So if you're speaking to them and saying, look, I've got this property, exactly what you're saying, what happened with Jimmy and these two people, they're not even on the market, and Jimmy's potentially already making a link between them.
Well, think about this. There's 500 properties that come on the market every single month in Fife with all the estate agents. How many do we go out to? A fraction of that. So all of the estate agents are going out to these properties as well. And that's not even negating the fact that the ones that don't come onto the market are actually sold off market out of the 500. So it's possibly even 600. So you're losing a golden opportunity if you're not speaking to people now and you're not registering with people now as estate agents now as well. The vast majority of buyers will wait for you to find your new home. This is a seller's market. Again, I'll reiterate that the vast majority of buyers will wait for you to find your new home if you're open for them if you're open with them from the very start. We'll go back to right full circle, right around to what we said in the beginning. We've got an entry date with someone that's agreed to pay more than the home report value, and they're waiting 12 months till this person builds their house. I mean, people actually think these offers do not exist, but they do. They're out there, and they're more than they were before. They're a lot more than they were before, Perry, aren't they?
Absolutely. So, and I think the buyers are very committed to what they're doing as well. I mean, for a seller, they might go, oh, hang on, but everything could go wrong while I'm waiting for that 12 months. What if I wait 9 months and then they say, I don't want to buy it anymore? But in that situation, what we've actually secured for our seller and our buyer is that missives are still being signed now. So missives are getting signed now. So they're concluding missives now to make sure that then the deal happens. And
a deposit as well up front. In other words, show colour of your money. 5 grand, 10 grand deposit now. We're not waiting. And if you really want this, you will pay this. You will also conclude missives immediately once we get all the T's crossed and the dots, the I's dotted, and the deal will be done way beforehand. So it's just a waiting game after that.
Correct. And that way, our seller is not spending the next 12 months worrying that something may go wrong. Our buyer is not worrying that the seller might change their mind. The deal is happening. So there's so many ways that we can tick all the boxes for people in regards to achieving what they want to achieve. But the amount of times that we still get people phoning who want to view property, who've not got their property on the market, some of our sellers are not even entertaining letting those people view the property because there's so many people ahead of the game. So if your answer is, I'm not selling till I find, that's never going to happen.
You've had it. It's also, if you're phoning up on a stage and saying, I've not got my property in the market, well, do you know what your property is worth? Oh, I'm not really sure. Well, how on earth do you know what your next budget is going to be? So there's no point. So unless you know that position, then you can't proceed any further. Everybody else will get in there before you because they're light years ahead of you. Final thoughts on this, Richard?
I think, just like we've discussed, take advantage of the autumn season. Don't treat it as a wound down, quieter time. I think, obviously, like I say, social media platforms and marketing strategies now kind of eradicate that mindset and speak to all the right people.
Perry?
For me, just be ready. Be ready to go. Get yourself structured. Get yourself organised. Take a leap of faith in what you're trying to achieve and who can help you do that and work with you on your journey.
Yeah, and if you out there, if you don't know what ready is, you need to speak to us. That's the key here. Because we know what ready is because we've done it thousands of times before. Autumn Destiny is probably will remain the most underrated time of year to find a buyer. But for those in the know, this golden season holds several unique and valuable benefits when it comes to selling your home. I can't reiterate enough. Would love to help you on the capture on your journey to get your next home. It starts now. You pick up the phone. You message us direct, you email us, or whatever you need to do to contact us to make it happen for you. We have a strap line. And what is it, Richard?
Help you manage life as it happens.
Absolutely. We help you manage life as it happens. And that's exactly what we do and where we come from. And that's it, guys. That's an hour. So we'll see you all next week on next week's Fife Property Show at 9:30. Bye-bye for now.
Brilliant.
Bye, guys. Have a great week.